Hello, hi. I'm Sandra Omoroyi, and this presentation is for the course CS 6460 Educational Technology for Georgia Tech's online program. This presentation is a comprehensive look at the course 12 Common Issues in Mobile App Development. To give a brief overview of what I'll be discussing in this presentation, let's take a look at the table of contents. First, I'll talk about the problem space of the issue and why it's a problem for developers. Then I'll discuss related works that prove this is a problem and also current solutions for this problem. I'll also talk about the pedagogies that are currently used in massive open online courses and what type of pedagogy I chose to use for my course. I'll then list the 12 common issues I was able to come up with based on the related works. And then I'll break down the design framework that I chose to use in order to present this information in the course. I'll also discuss the methodology I used to evaluate the course. We'll then go over the results and point out limitations in these results. I'll conclude the presentation with the takeaways and future endeavors and what I can do to improve this course going forward. When I first decided I wanted to create a mobile app, it was a lot of information I had to learn. And during that learning process, I ran into a lot of issues. And in solving a lot of these issues, I had to access multiple resources. A lot of these resources were time consuming, and a lot of the information was either parsed or fragmented in a more specialized course. So I wanted to create a course that not only brought a solution for information that was fragmented across multiple sites and platforms. I wanted to create a course that made learners more interested, more engaged, and able to see the bigger picture in mobile app development when it came to solving common issues. In terms of related works, in the journal Real Challenges in Mobile App Development, the authors, through research, discovered that a lot of the common challenges in mobile app development consisted of cross-platform development. They also found issues in testing analysis. So in the journal, an exploratory analysis of mobile development issues using Stack Overflow, in August of 2012, the authors, what they did was they downloaded 400K posted questions that were tagged related to mobile technologies from the developer Q&A website Stack Overflow. They extracted the information and they parsed the data for analysis in order to explore, the types of issues developers were facing during that year. In the study, the authors found that the most common mobile operating system questions were about display issues, such as the layout, the GUI controls, and the user input, as well as compatibility issues. Okay, it was discovered through research that a lot of these compatibility issues are because developers are creating software for multiple types of devices that have, different hardware. So the common theme in a lot of these journals was that compatibility had a lot to do with fragmentation, writing software for multiple types of devices. Article in the journal Moving Fast with Software Verification, the authors, they talk about how Facebook, in order to speed up their verification process, they have to use a utility called Infer Static Analysis because they want their verification process to be quick. In the journal, what drives a successful MOOC, an empirical examination of criteria to assure design quality of MOOCs, the authors, they take a look at 5 MOOCs and they determined that the main pedagogical approaches used in these courses are associative, cognitive, constructivist, situative, and connectivist. So for my course, I want the learners to be able to retain the information that I'm providing them and reduce the cognitive load. So I'm using 3 cognitive pedagogues to help teach this course. In the same journal, the authors conclude that in order to create an effective MOOC, there are different types of design frameworks to help create an effective course so that user retention is increased. So the design framework I decided to use for my course is the 7 C's of Learning Design Frameworks. And in this framework, I decided to use the 7 approaches to create my course: conceptualize, create, communicate, collaborative, consider, combine, and consolidate. Before we go into that, let's take a step back and let's also discuss the common mobile list I came up with based on the related works and based on the articles I read, and the common issues that kept reoccurring throughout my research. So based on the research, the 12 common mobile app development issues that kept on reoccurring were approaches, languages, the operating system, the security issues, performance issues, compatibility issues, verification, testing issues, cost, guidelines, learnability, and adaptability. Let's go into more detail. As it relates to approaches, developers ran into issues involving the traditional design approach or the agile design approaches, and choosing the most effective designing phase. In terms of languages, a lot of the developers ran into cross-platform issues dealing with languages such as HTML or JavaScript, as well as platform-specific languages such as Objective-C, Java, and C#. In terms of systems, developers faced issues in terms of designing code for Android and iOS devices. Particularly for Android, developers reported issues of fragmentation because of the vast number of OS systems Android provides, and the vast number of devices that use Android as their main software platform. Other recurring issues were also performance, compatibility, and security issues that I discuss more and go into more detail in the course, as well as verification, and verification involved many tests. Issues of cost derived from verification and tests were also reported as issues in finding the most cost-effective way to develop mobile apps. The last 3 issues were basically issues for HCI principles. Also, developers reported users having issues with guidelines and learnability, and being able to, adapt their code to either scale up or scale down. So I decided to create a course incorporating 12 avatars. And in order to connect these 12 avatars to the astrology theme, I named each avatar by a zodiac sign. Okay, and I assigned an issue to each avatar. Each avatar was also divided into 4 groups of 3. And their zodiac sign in astrology, there are 12 signs, and of these 12 signs, they're either a fire sign, a water sign, a earth sign, or air sign. So basically, I just assign the avatars to their appropriate element group, and I gave them each a symbol. So creativity was assigned to the fire team, and health was assigned. The symbol of health was for water, and the symbol of stability was for earth, and the symbol of communication was for air, and this was just a way to connect everything together and then help the learners reduce their cognitive load and be able to remember exactly the importance of each team. So basically, there are 4 attributes. There's the issues, there's the sign, the element, and the symbol. So I assigned an attribute, 4 attributes. So each of the avatars have 4 attributes. If you take a look at the illustrative model. Okay, as you can see, like Aries, her issue is approaches. Okay, her sign is Aries, and she's named Aries, and she's on the fire team. Okay, and her symbol is creativity. So as you can see, you look through each avatar and you see their 4 attributes. So during the lesson, each avatar is presenting their particular lesson. Okay, and they're standing in front of their elemental group's backdrop. You can see Leo is standing in front of the fire. Pisces, which is a water sign, is standing in front of the water, and so on. So I wanted to engage the learner and give them a creative look in the course. If you go and take a look at the course design, throughout the course, you'll see the cognitive pedagogues. You'll see interleaving. You'll see me talking about the issues, the mobile development issues, and combining it with astrology. You'll see me using mnemonics to engage the learner and help them remember that Virgo is responsible for verification. You'll see the illustrative models. You'll see that their names will be on their clothing as Virgo, just to reduce the cognitive load and keep the learner engaged. The need finding method I used to evaluate my course was the survey method. My focus was to collect data inventory from the participants, such as their level of interest, what outside forces were competing for their attention, and what were they doing cognitively while watching the course. The goal was to determine what the participants need after watching the course. I posted the survey on Peer Survey. The survey had a total of 6 questions. The first 2 questions asked the participant to watch sections 1.2 through 1.1 through 1.2 of the course. The third question gave the participants the option to watch a longer video of section 1 through 2 and give feedback. Question 4 through 5 asked the participant to provide feedback on how well they were able to follow the course. Question 6 asks the participant to give general feedback on their thoughts about the course. Okay, a total of 25 students, OMS CS students, participated in the survey. The results from the survey provided qualitative information to build on. In question 1, I asked the participant to watch section 1.1. Then in question 4, I asked participants to provide feedback on whether section 1.2 was easy to follow. Out of the 25 participants, only 12 provided a response. Out of the 12 respondents, only 1 had any issue following the material in section 1.1. That respondent that felt the introduction, there was 1 respondent that felt that the introduction needed to focus more on mobile development before I introduced the common problems. Additional feedback was provided in section 1.1, such as, issues with text on the screen being a distraction and the avatar voices being robotic. In question 2, I asked the participants to now watch section 1.2. Then in question 5, I asked the same participants to provide feedback on whether section 1.2 was easy to follow. Out of the 25 participants, only 15 provided a response. Out of those 15 respondents, only 2 had an issue following the material in section 1.2. One of the 2 respondents felt section 1.2 had an issue with the categorization of the content. The other felt the screen text could be improved upon. Okay, and then in question 3, I asked the participants to watch a fuller version of the course, and I only got 1 reply. But that participant provided positive feedback on the course. In the final question, I asked participants to give any comments or feedback on all 3 videos. Out of the 25 participants, 25 did provide a response. And the 3 common feedback responses from the participants included an issue with the robotic voices, as mentioned before, the text on the screen, and an issue with providing either too much information or not enough information. So essentially, my course needed more balance. In terms of limitation, based on the feedback from the survey, a limitation in my course was the avatar voices. According to the feedback, the robotic or monotone voices were disengaging or made participants disconnect from the content. Not enough data was collected from the feedback in order to determine how effective the course would be across different disciplines. But from the feedback, it's apparent that the participants like the idea and think that the course idea is unique. But when given the option to watch the extended version of the course, only one participant offered a response. Another limitation was the lack of connection the participants had with the avatars. This was an important limitation because the goal of my course was to keep learners engaged. Personal information was not collected from the participants, such as age, education, or gender. Background information will be collected in the next survey. So the takeaways I did get back from this course and from the feedback and everything altogether is the survey results provided a point of reference to build on. Okay, learners do not want to be distracted by the content on the screen or boarded by avatars' voices. It's important for me to incorporate one of the 15 HCI design principles. So I was thinking maybe using simplicity, particularly with the placement of the text on in order to eliminate unnecessary information that distracts the learner, as well as getting real voices for each avatar. So going forward, I will continue to put in place long-term and short-term methods to get more feedback from learners.